we're here to really unpack insights Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes novel, The Valley of Fear,
Hmm.
and exploring how it surprisingly connects to some very modern
It
challenges.
really does.
So imagine the setting Doyle creates, a place ruled by terror by a secret society called the Scourers. They silence anyone who speaks out, ruthlessly.
It's a powerful image. It's
Yes.
not just about the crime itself, but about that atmosphere of fear.
Yeah.
Secrecy, intimidation,
Yeah.
the crushing of truth.
Exactly. And that's the bridge, isn't it? That fictional valley of fear, how much does it echo in today's corporate world?
Oh, profoundly. I mean, think about organizations where, maybe not intentionally, but the effect is the same, where speaking up about problems gets discouraged
Yeah.
or even punished.
They create their own kind of valley of fear.
Precisely. Yeah. A metaphorical one, yeah. And in that space, misconduct can really fester. It hides in the shadows. And silence, well, it stops being passive. It becomes complicity.
That's a strong word, complicity.
Mm.
But it feels right. That link between sort of individual courage or lack of it and the overall health of an organization, that's what we really need to get into today.
Mm.
So our mission, if you like, is to explore just how vital whistleblowers are for any real corporate compliance program. We're using the Valley of Fear almost like a lens.
A guide, yeah, to
Yeah.
see what's truly needed to empower people to speak up
Yeah,
and maybe why compliance just falls apart without them.
right. And for you listening, we think this offers a kind of shortcut, a way to grasp why building that safe to speak up culture isn't just, the nice thing to do.
It's absolutely a business necessity. We're aiming to go beyond the usual bullet points here, hopefully offering some deeper insights, practical stuff you can actually think about or apply.
Whether you're leading a team or just, trying to navigate your own workplace.
Okay.
Okay, so let's dive into Doyle's story a bit more. The Valley of Fear. It's kind of two stories woven together, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You've got the Sherlock Holmes mystery in England, classic stuff. But then there's this flashback.
A really vivid one. Back to the Pennsylvania coal mining areas. And that's where we meet the Scourers.
Terrorizing everyone.
Right.
Workers, the community, and their power. It's not just the overt violence, though there's plenty of that. It's the fear.
Pervasive fear. It guarantees silence. Witnesses won't talk. Members are too scared. Anyone thinking of speaking out knows what will happen.
It's a chilling picture of how absolute power can be built purely on silence.
And the corporate parallel.
Mm,
It's almost too easy to see sometimes, isn't it?
it really is. You take a company, maybe one without a truly safe, truly anonymous way for people to raise concerns. It can easily drift into becoming its own valley of fear.
How so?
Well, employees see things. Maybe it's fraud, maybe harassment, maybe just ethical corner cutting.
Yeah.
But they stay quiet.
Why?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
the calculation?
Fear? Fear of losing their job, obviously. But also fear of being sidelined, being marked as a troublemaker, maybe colleagues turning on them, even subtle personal attacks.
So the result is predictable.
Completely. The bad stuff, the corruption, the ethical failures, they don't get addressed. They take root, they grow. And eventually, boom, some major scandal hits.
It really makes whistleblowers sound like the absolute key, the potential circuit breakers in that whole dynamic.
They are. They're the ones who can potentially shatter that silence, allow the company to actually see the problems early.
And deal with them, right, before a culture of fear completely takes over.
But, even if a company wants to do the right thing, setting up genuinely effective protections, that's tough. What are the big hurdles? Is it just about writing a policy?
Or is there something more fundamental needed?
I think it's definitely deeper. And that brings us to the first big takeaway from Doyle's story, I think. The absolute non-negotiable need for anonymity.
Right. In the book, the Scourers' power came from knowing exactly who might oppose them.
Exactly. They could identify and target anyone. Anonymity was impossible, so silence was the only option.
The lesson seems pretty stark then.
It is. Without real, robust anonymity, the personal risk of speaking up just feels too high for most people. Silence becomes the rational choice.
So for companies, anonymity isn't just a nice-to-have feature on a hotline website.
No, it's foundational. It's
Yeah.
bedrock. Employees have to believe they can raise a flag without their name getting attached to it, without exposure.
But that seems like a challenge in practice. How do you guarantee that, especially if an investigation needs details? How do companies make anonymity truly bulletproof beyond just saying it is?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's definitely more than just having a phone number or a web form.
So what does robust look like?
It means things like really secure tech, maybe third-party platforms that scrub metadata, IP addresses, anything traceable. It means having strict internal protocols about who even sees the raw report data, limiting access severely.
It's about building trust in the system itself.
Precisely. When a company invests in that level of security, it sends a signal. It says, we get it. We understand the risk you're taking. We recognize the power imbalance.
Between, say, someone on the shop floor and a senior manager.
Exactly. Without that deep commitment to anonymity, your reporting channels, well, they might exist on paper, but they'll likely stay quiet.
People might whisper among themselves.
Right, but
Yeah.
they won't make a formal report.
Mm.
And then when the problem finally blows up, maybe regulators find it, or a journalist, or a lawsuit, the company's caught completely off guard.
Just like the Scourers ruled because no one dared name them.
Corporate wrongdoers can thrive if employees believe their identity won't be protected if they speak out.
Okay, so anonymity is crucial. What's next? That brings us to retaliation, right?
Absolutely. The need for genuine protection from retaliation. If anonymity is about feeling safe to report, this is about feeling safe after you report.
And in the Valley of Fear, retaliation wasn't just a risk, it was a certainty.
A brutal certainty. Suspected of betraying the Scourers, you were dealt with. Violently. Doyle paints a world where punishment is swift, inevitable. Even the hint of whistleblowing could destroy you.
Thankfully, corporate retaliation usually isn't violent.
No, thankfully. But it's still destructive. It just takes different forms.
Like what should people be aware of?
Oh, it can be anything from, being suddenly overlooked for promotions or raises, getting bad assignments, being excluded from important meetings or emails. Social isolation is a big one, colleagues suddenly keeping their distance. Even legal threats sometimes, or just subtle harassment that makes your work life miserable.
And regulators are looking at this closely now.
Very closely. You look at key guidance like the DOJ's evaluation of corporate compliance programs, the ECCP from 2024, it's crystal clear. Companies can't just say they prohibit retaliation.
They have to prove it.
They have to show how effectively they're preventing and addressing it. They'll ask for evidence. Are you tracking what happens to whistleblowers' careers? Do you actually discipline managers who retaliate? And do you do it quickly?
So again, it's not just policy, it's about demonstrated action. What does that look like day to day?
It means systems.
Yeah.
Systems to maybe monitor the career paths of people known to have reported issues, just to check for negative patterns. It means HR being trained and empowered to investigate retaliation claims seriously and act fast.
Disciplining offenders.
Yes, and making it visible, where appropriate, that retaliation has consequences. It might mean offering remedies like reinstatement if someone was unfairly fired or demoted.
And communication is key too.
Constantly communicating. Telling the workforce repeatedly that retaliation is not okay. Ever. If you don't have that robust protection, you're essentially silencing future whistleblowers before they even think about speaking out.
But strong enforcement sends the opposite message.
Exactly. It says, we value integrity here more than we value silence. It shifts the fear. The fear shouldn't be on the reporter. It should be on anyone thinking about retaliating.
Okay, so we have anonymity and we have protection from retaliation. What's the third piece you see reflected in Doyle's story?
It's about keeping whistleblowers in the loop, informed. One of the really bleak things in the Valley of Fear is how isolated the people who see the wrongdoing feel.
Right, they're carrying this knowledge completely alone, no one to trust, no idea if speaking up would even do any good.
And in the corporate world, that feeling, it's incredibly corrosive to trust in the compliance system. If an employee takes the risk, submits a report, and then crickets, silence.
They assume the worst.
Naturally, they assume, okay, they ignored it, or my report just vanished, or nothing's going to change, so why did I even bother? That kills future reporting.
So keeping them informed is essential. But that sounds tricky too. How do you balance keeping the whistleblower updated without compromising the investigation or, breaching confidentiality for others involved?
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. It doesn't mean sharing every single investigative detail. That's usually not appropriate or even possible.
So what does it mean?
It means consistent touch points. Communication at key stages, like a prompt acknowledgement, yes, we got your report. Then maybe it's been assigned for initial review. Perhaps an update later. The investigation is proceeding. We expect to provide another update by X date.
And then closure?
And finally, some form of closure notification. The investigation is complete. Appropriate action has been taken. Even if you can't share the specific disciplinary actions or outcomes, the process needs to feel transparent.
So the person knows they were heard and something happened.
Exactly. It builds confidence. It tells employees their voice matters, their report was taken seriously,
Yeah.
their courage wasn't just wasted effort. Good communication basically stops the valley of fear from turning into a valley of despair for the reporter.
Which really brings us, I think, to the broadest lesson from the book. Building that overall speak-up culture.
Yes. The big picture. Remember, in the story, the Scourers didn't just silence individuals. They silenced whole communities.
Because they fostered a culture where opposition was unthinkable.
Right. And in business, we need the absolute opposite. A compliance program, no matter how well designed on paper, can only really work if it exists within a genuine speak-up culture.
And that's not something you create overnight?
Definitely not. It rests on, I'd say, maybe 4 key pillars. First, leadership. You need leaders at the top visibly walking the walk, admitting their own mistakes sometimes, addressing misconduct openly and seriously.
Setting the tone. What else?
Second, communication and training. Not just the annual check-the-box training, regular reminders that speaking up is expected, it's supported, it's safe.
Okay.
Third, visible action. When reports do lead to change, fixing a process, disciplining someone, whatever it is the company needs to find ways to communicate that, obviously, without breaking confidentiality. Show people that reports actually make a difference.
Makes sense. And the fourth?
Fourth, positive recognition. Instead of letting whistleblowers be seen as pariahs, find ways to frame their actions. Again, maybe confidentially or sometimes publicly if appropriate, as acts of integrity. Examples of courage the company values.
It's about consistency, isn't it? Repeated actions, messaging, the tone from the top.
Absolutely. It's a long game. But when that culture takes root, misconduct finds it much, much harder to hide. It really does transform the place from that potential valley of fear into more of a community built on trust.
So let's pull back a bit. We've talked about these key elements. Why ultimately are whistleblowers just so important? Why all this focus?
Well, fundamentally because they're your best early warning system, period.
Better than audits, better than monitoring.
Think about it. Regulators, internal auditors, even dedicated compliance teams. They can't be everywhere. They can't see everything. Whistleblowers often have that ground-level view, that inside knowledge of things happening in hidden corners.
Things that would otherwise stay hidden.
For potentially a long time. And the data backs this up consistently. Study after study shows whistleblower tips are the single most common way that fraud and significant misconduct get detected. Far more effective than audits or internal controls alone.
That statistic alone is powerful.
It should make every single compliance professional a fierce advocate for protecting and enabling whistleblowers. It's just pragmatic.
Beyond just detection, though, there's another layer, isn't there, about what they represent.
They represent the company's values in action. They're the employees who actually care enough about the organization's integrity, its reputation, its ethical health, that they're willing to take a personal risk.
So protecting them isn't just a compliance task.
No, it's good business. It's a demonstration. It shows everyone else that the company genuinely values courage, it values integrity, it values transparency over sweeping things under the rug.
So bringing it back to Doyle one last time, the Valley of Fear, a place ruled by silence and corruption.
In Holmes's world, yes. And in the corporate world, that valley is any workplace where people are just too afraid to speak truth to power.
So escaping that valley means committing to those key things we discussed.
Absolutely. Guaranteeing anonymity, providing real, tangible protection from retaliation, keeping people informed, and deliberately, actively building that culture where speaking up isn't just safe, it's valued.
And when those things are truly in place, consistently,
then you start to see a shift. Companies move from being driven by fear to being driven more by trust. Whistleblowers stop being seen as threats or problems and become seen as essential partners in maintaining integrity.
And misconduct.
It gets surfaced earlier, it gets dealt with, hopefully it gets prevented more often because the environment doesn't allow it to fester in silence.
In the end, that line from the discussion really resonates. Fear is the greatest enemy of truth.
It really is. So, as we think about our own roles in whatever organization we're part of, the mission has to be ensuring fear doesn't win. Building systems, building cultures where integrity finds its voice.
Where truth is safe.
And where courage gets rewarded, not punished.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. What might this mean for you, for the spaces you operate in, whether it's work or community groups or anything else? How crucial is it really to build places where integrity can speak, where truth feels safe, and where courage finds support? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Compliance Podcast Network. Start your mornings with daily compliance news, quick, sharp updates on the top compliance and ethics stories in under 5 minutes every morning in Compliance Podcast Network. Because compliance never sleeps. Need practical advice fast? Check out Compliance Tip of the Day. One actionable idea to level up your program. Short and sweet. Every day on Compliance Podcast Network. Got 10 minutes? We've got the week's top 10 stories. 10 for 10 brings you the big compliance headlines. Fast, fun, and focused. Every Saturday on Compliance Podcast Network. And don't miss the Sunday Book Review, where compliance meets culture through must-read books and big ideas every Sunday in Compliance Podcast Network. Whether you're in the office, on a walk, or commuting, stay smart, stay ethical, stay tuned. Only on the Compliance Podcast Network. Available wherever you listen to podcasts.